Yo, what's up folks? Welcome back to the channel. First and foremost, Happy New Year, Happy 2025. I hope you all started into the new year with your friends, your family, your loved ones and had a good start. I wish you all the best for the new year. In today's video, we'll go over the White Forest Azamina toy box deck that I took to locals today. And I must give a disclaimer right at the beginning. I just copied the deck list from somebody that I saw winning, I think a regional was with it. I'll link the YouTube video he had in the description down below, and I didn't have a lot of time to practice the deck before going to locals or to build a good deck list, so I thought I'll just try out a list of somebody, give it a shot and see which cards I like, which cards I don't like, and that is something I'll go over in the video as well. Debate what maybe some solutions might be, especially going into Supreme Darkness, because this deck will change quite a bit. Because the White Forest cards and the Azamina cards will get a bunch of good support cards, and we'll get some additional other cards that I'll mention in the video as well. It was the first locals of the new year, so it was a good time seeing a bunch of friends, a bunch of people that haven't been to locals in a while, or maybe came from a little bit further away because we still have holidays here, or most people still have holidays here. And yeah, we spent a good time, went 3-0-1 at the locals, winning the whole tournament as well. Fun. Let's get into the profile. So the main deck consists of 42 cards, and we play 3 engine and a bunch of other cards. We play the White Forest, the Sinful Sprites or Azamina engine, and the Toy engine, and I'll go over each of them and the cards we use in them. For the White Forest engine, we're running Triple LZ. This is probably your best starter, or one of your best starters, because it's not very vulnerable to hand trap. It can be ashed, but it can be impermed, it can be veilered. Searches you another White Forest monster, which usually is the Silver or the Rushia, depending if you open with one or the other. If you just open with her, it's usually the Sylvie, so you can search an extender. And this immediately gives you access to level 6 synchro, which is very important in this deck because you want to synchro climb up into the Diabell. So this is very nice, especially if you draw it with one of your spells and traps that recycle themselves, or if you open it with a toy card. And that is quite an opposite to the second card we're running at 3, and that is the Estella. This one is a much more vulnerable starter, but it's still very important. If you open this with a toy card though, it is cracked. Even if she gets negated, usually people will open with one hand trap. You can always expect that, so be aware of that, but then she's very good. And for synchro climbing, she's obviously also way better than LZ, because she recycles herself from the graveyard if you go through the Alciala, or even if you go second and maybe summon the Cold Dragon, you can still summon her back and climb into the Diabell, so she's very good. She's a very nice card. But I'm still iffy on her. So going forward, I might cut it down to 2, especially if you open a hand with 2 of her. It hurts a lot, because you can't go normal summon then special summon the other, so it's kind of weird. And the other big normal summon is the Sylvie. And this is one that will change with Supreme Darkness. Here we're just playing her too. In Supreme Darkness, this will be a 3-0, because the lines of how you climb through the White Forest cards will change dramatically with the new Azamina LZ, which I'll talk about later as well. But this is a very good starter. Searches your tails. Tails can get you through LZ, can get you to Rushia, depending on what you need. So this is a very good starter as well. We're also playing just one Rushia. And this was a card that I was kind of missing as a 2-off, because sometimes in the grind game you kind of want that second one that you can just special summon out for an additional body to go into your level 10 synchros or your level 8 or just wing climb. And yeah, I still like this card. The draw effect is also very nice, especially since we're running 3 of the spells and traps, and you can just recycle them. Or if you have to draw an additional card to maybe open up one of your other engines, you can just send one of your spell traps and then later recycle them with the Diabell. So this one is very nice. For the spells, we play the Tails, the Beware of the White Forest, and for the trap, just the one Woes. Woes is still for me the best, or one of the best cards in the deck. Synchroning with this into Sylvie, or Silvera rather, is just a crazy combo. I love this card. Same with the Silvera. I think they're basically 2 of the best cards in the whole deck and make White Forest very much worth playing, because double booking the opponent's board is just crazy interruption. You stop them from basically all extra deck summoning, except for fusion summons and then non-extra deck ritual summons. The Tails is a must play in this deck. You might even bump this up to 2, but you want to have some room for some non-engines, so I understand running it at 1. It's a very important extender. In the Runic White Force, I don't even play it anymore, I just play the woes. But here it's very much worth it because you want to be able to put more White Forest bodies on board. So you usually try to start with either of these two, summon out the Sylvie next and grab this one, or this one if you already have this, and then keep on synchro climbing. So this is very important. We also play the Beware to out cards like Chaos Angel, which if you see the Fiendsmith engine will come up a bunch. It's a very annoying card to deal with because in this deck you're usually counting on your monster effects, and Light Dark Chaos Angel or Light Chaos Angel doesn't care about those obviously, so it's kind of tough to out. So this is very good for it. For the simple Poison Azamina engine, we went 2 Witch and 3 more Witch, but better. Obviously the poster is a nice way to start your Azamina engine, simply because you get an additional draw of it. We're also running the Deception, just at 1 because space, 1 Hallowed Azamina, and 1 card that I haven't played before, which is the Azamina Determination, and I really like this one. You usually with this go through, for example, Mur Arceolago, grab this, use the Arceolago for synchro or link climbing, get this card back by shuffling her back, and you have this one set up, especially if you use the poster to shuffle back the Deception and draw 1 card. You can use the poster for this on the opponent's turn to either bring out the Soul, which sends a card to the graveyard, or you can get the Omni Negate on their turn out as well, which is very nice. For the toy cards, we're on 3 Toy Box, 1 Soldier, and 1 Tank. And I must say I love these cards. I haven't played with them before. I only played against them, and I must say I won against every White Forest Toy Box deck that I played against before, so I didn't think too much of them, but playing them myself, even opening 2 Toy Box without like other big ways of opening engine can be decent, because it's once per copy, the effect, so you can use the first one to set the 2, use the second one to pop the 2, which summons out both, and the Toy Soldier gets you into your White Forest engine. So this card is very nice. I've said before, opening Toy Box with Estella is very good, even Toy Soldier can work, because it generates so much card advantage, so much value. And what is also very nice, which a lot of people forget about with Toy Box, is the second effect, or rather I think it's even on the card the first effect, is the Battle Phase Protection. If your opponent's monster attacks, once per turn you can send a face down card from the field to the graveyard and destroy the attacking monster, which is also very, very good. The Toy Soldier bridges so nicely into your White Forest engine, can grab you the bodies that you still need. And the Toy Tank comes up a lot where you open LZ plus the toy cards, where you need a level 2 body again, and you just use it, tribute it to resummon the LZ, and that allows you to go into the Synchro 8. So these are very nice. I love them. Some people play the Toy Soldier at 2 or 3. I think in the pure White Forest toy deck, it's standard to play him at 3 because he searches the toy box, but you can also set him. Both of them, you can't only set them with the toy box, you can only also set them by themselves, which is very nice. So yeah, these are very good cards. We're also playing 2 tech cards, and that is the Vanadium Counter Trap and the Angel Statue as a room. Both are very nice, especially the Counter Trap. I love it because it protects your board from board breakers, which is something that the deck isn't the strongest against. Sure, you have the Omni Negate with the Ilya Silver, but 1 Droplet, 1 Dark Ruler, which isn't played that much, but Droplet is played quite a bunch, I feel, right now. Yeah, can completely cook you and get rid of most of your interruptions. So this is very nice because nobody sends a trap. You can usually often negate it, and even if you hard draw this, it's good. You don't always need to go through the Visus Amrita to get to this, and this is very nice as well, even if you hard draw it. So both are still playable. We're also running some amount of hand traps, 9 in total that is, and that is 2 Nip, 1 Veiler, 3 Ash, and lastly, and a card that I think has the best synergy in this deck is 3 Imperm. Ash and Imperm are probably still the best hand traps in this format. Baylor is quite nice, even just at 1, because going first you can just search it. It's also still nice to open it as a hand trap, but you can search with Asiela. So if you already have your White Force cards in rotation that you need, you can just search her to get an additional interruption on the opponent's turn. Nip is quite decent, even though I haven't used it once a day, except for one time against Malice where they played through it. I didn't hand trap them at the right time, so they still ended on a bunch of bodies, the firewall with the bounce effect. So yeah, that was quite a bit annoying. Lost me the game as well because I couldn't play into their board. Imperm obviously very good in this deck because you need a high spell trap count to actually play with your White Force cards. Estella and LZ obviously need those. So this is very good. Also, what I like about Imperm is that it's a hand trap and board breaker. Vela obviously is dead on your turn, so it's a sucky card to draw, but Imperm is still very good with that because you can just control more cards, slap down an Imperm on a card that annoys you, and keep on playing from there. The last cards we're playing are 3 Droplet, 2 Talents, and 1 Call By. I must say, I love those going first, but especially going second. The Droplet plus the Toy Box, if they can't interact with the Toy Box effect, this card is crazy because the Toy Box basically generates free bodies to send off of Droplet, and you get advantage and plus of it as well because you can summon them out, the Toy Soldier searches. So this interaction with the Toy Box is really nice. You set the monsters, you send them for the Droplet. I love this. Talents is very good in the format right now as well. Theoretically, if you play against Ryziel, you just steal the Detonator, which is very good. Both of them are very good going first as well, simply because you can extend through interruptions. For the extra deck, we're playing the typical White Force synchros, so the Silvera, the Asiela, the Diabelle. We're playing the Henri White Force synchro, which is the Zapper Shrimp, and also Coal Dragon. We're playing as a other level 8, the Rhesus Armored Tower, and he's mainly here to grab our counter grab. Protects us from board breakers. It also is a very tough interruption for the opponent. Sometimes in weird board states you stick him on the board and then it also destroys him, not just in case, but it's a very good card. I like it a lot. It's a tech option that I've thought for the unique variant as well, but I've never tried, and in this variant I like it a lot, so it's a very nice card in my opinion. We also have the Chaos Angel and the Chen Ying. Both are good. I think Chen Ying is much worse in this variant though, so I'm very keen on cutting him. He didn't come up a bunch. I think I summoned him once and never used his effect. And the runic variant, he's very good because you just banish cards off your runic effects and then trigger his effect, which is very nice. But in this variant, he doesn't come up quite a bunch. But I think Chen Ying is very cuttable. I don't think he does a lot, so you could try some other tech options, which I'll go to in a second as well, or wait for Supreme Darkness, and then you have a bunch of replacements that are very much valuable running for this deck. We're also playing the Azamina Fusions, which are the Mu Arceolago for this deck, and the Ilia Silva. The Mu Arceolago is very nice because it can search your trap, so you would use the Deception to search the spell, and use its effect, summon out the Mu Arceolago user to Synchro Climb, more for level 10s, or to Link Climb. Then activate the spell from the graveyard, shuffle her back, and then use the spell again if you have another Simple Spells card to summon her out. And on the opponent's turn, you can use the trap. And usually I would summon the Soul, which is spot removal, which is very nice, quite annoying. Or you can just summon out the Omni-Negate again, which is also very good. Playing 1 copy of SP, always a very good card. I think, because except for playing a deck like Branded, where you can only really play 1 summoning archetype, I will never cut this card. This card is nice. We're also playing the Silhouette Rabbit, and just like the Visas Amritara, he's just here to grab us our Angel Statue Ezreal. Though he has a nice secondary effect. He sets the trap, but also if you activate it, you can pop a spell trap card, which is also very nice. One of the MVPs today was Beguska because it won me the FTK matchup against the deck that I played, because you need the monster effects on board. So Beguska is very nice. He's also very easy to summon out. And I don't think it's very bad to end on him because a lot of decks, if they don't have the out, they just hate playing through this card. And at least on my locals, a lot of people are still mainly on hand traps rather than board breakers. And then Baguska is just crazy. He's annoying to out. Then as the last card is the Typhoon. I ordered him extra for this deck, even though I think he's good in other decks as well, but he didn't come up once. I didn't summon him a single time, but I still think it's a very good card. Overall, I think the extra deck is quite good, but you have a bunch of flag spots. So the flag spots in the end really are the Chenying, the Amritara, the Silhouette Rabbit, because it's a question if you really want to play the 2 traps. You can brick on them, but that's a good thing in White Forest. You can just send them for cost. For your Ruche, your Zed, your Estella. So you have a lot of ways to discard the spell traps you draw that don't allow you to play right away. And you can always add them back with Black Bells. So even then, those are still decent cards. But yeah, Chenying is very cuttable. I think I will cut him in the future because, as I said, he didn't do a whole bunch for me. It's nice to have him on the board and then on the opponent's turn go into a Chaos Angel to trigger the Chenying then. But otherwise, he just doesn't do a ton. The side deck is the one thing that I was the least sure about. Simple reason being for that is that it always depends on your local meta. Of course, if you go to a bigger event, the side deck can be approached a little bit more universally. Which meta decks do you expect? Which cards are good against them? But I said it in every single deck profile video that I did before. It really depends on the locals which cards you play. For this, we have Nip, simply to side into the 3rd if we need it for the matchup. I don't think I sided it more than once. I just sided it against Nellis in the 3rd match. We're also playing Bestials. So 1 Druis, 1 Magna, and 1 Baldric, which is I think currently the standard. Some people like to run double Druis, but I think Baldric can sometimes be nicer than Druis. We're also playing 3 Lancia. This I think is currently a must-have in every side deck, simply because of the Malice matchup. Malice is just simply a deck that is very tough to stop from playing with your hand traps. If they have starters, they can play through a bunch. Sometimes they just die to 1 Imperm though, so that's also very funny because they don't have the biggest engine. Lancia is something that stops them from setting up like craziest boards with a lot of layered interruptions, so that's very nice. We're also playing 2 Thrust. Thrust generally good this format, but I think in this deck especially nice because you can also search your White Forest spells. So that is very good, but we're also playing 1 Thrust target. That is the Duster, the obligatory spell trap removal that you need for the Rising matchup, but also for other decks, the D-Barrier. And the triple Evenly, which is something that I would consider mainly. Maybe even put out the Nip and the Veiler. That way you don't brick on too many spell monsters for your White Forest cards. And at the same time, it's a crazy board breaker. This, especially in combination with Droplet, also plays easily through Desiree, so maybe main those 2 at the same time. I like in the Runic White Forest deck that I run, so I don't know. I like this card a bunch for breaking boards, and for decks where you can't play a bunch of hand traps or have a low non-engine count, I think it's a good card, so yeah. Talking about D-Barrier, I actually got hit on with it in a game 2 or 3, I don't really remember, which usually would be very annoying because, well, we run a bunch of synchros, so that's bad. But with the Azamina fusions, we have our link monsters, we have our XCs, which going first mainly, or going second rather, mainly Baguska to slap on the board, or Typhon, so that's very nice. Which is something that I really appreciate about this deck. I said before in other decks, I run Branded, I run Melodious, I run the Runic White Forest, and if they stop either the fusions or the synchros in either of these decks, it just sucks. It's tough to play through. Sure, in Branded there are some ways by fusion summoning on the opponent's turn, but you need the right hands for that. And in this deck, well, they stop you from synchro summoning, you still slap out an Omni Negate in a Rabbit. Your White Force monsters still generate bodies for that, so that's very nice. So yeah, I like that aspect quite a bit. I must say, overall, I enjoyed this deck a lot. I think it combines a bunch of very cool archetypes. I said it before, I think the White Forest archetype is pretty much the coolest one that Konami released last year. Probably the most well designed as well. Of course, it was a little bit overshadowed by Snake Eye, Yubel, and Tenpai, but it sets up a lot of nice interactions, and especially Come Supreme Darkness, it bridges very nicely into the Azamina cards. Right now it doesn't, but still interacts nicely with them. But then this combination of 4 archetypes will just be bonkers. You'll see that in the future. I'll definitely post about it. I really enjoyed the 2 extra deck cards with the Amritara and the Rabbit that I didn't use before. I said it before, thought about the Amritara in the Runic White Forest, but never tried it out. I even gave away my only copy of the Vanadium Reframing, the counter trap, and had to pick it up again. I had the Rabbit sitting in my binder ever since the release. I think I packed one and then traded it away, pretty much right after. And then I traded one back in because turns out the card is very good, but I never played it. I never found the slots in the other decks. In the Runic deck, it kind of sucks because you can't summon out a Hugin to protect your board from back row removal. But in this variant, you have the Omni Negate, you maybe get the counter trap as well. So there's a bunch of ways where you can just set it up, and yeah, doesn't matter if they have a Lightning Storm or Duster or Cosmic or whatever, and you don't need to have your Fountain on board, so that doesn't even matter. And you can even play with just your monsters, so that doesn't matter. So it's very nice. Also, I think the one archetype that I expected the least of was actually one that performed very great for me, and that was the Toy Engine. I think this engine is just very cool. It's just 3 cards, or 3 different cards, 5 cards in total that we run here. I know a lot of guys run the Toy Soldier at multiple copies, 2 or 3, which I understand as well, because you want cards to send, especially for the Estella, that generate value on top, because if she gets negated, you're kind of cooked. But with this combination, Toy Box, set the 2, normal summon Estella, send the Soldier, even if she gets negated, you play well. But that's also one of the biggest issues I had playing this deck. That is that the Esteller as a summon can kind of suck. At this in testing, you don't open a toy card, you don't open one of the spells. That would be an argument as well for running multiple of the tails. You just normal summon the Esteller, send whatever spell trap you have in your hand that is probably the least valuable right now, let's say a Droplet. You get Imperm, Veiler, Ash, you don't have a Talents in hand to extend, and that just ends your turn. So that card can be very iffy, but that's something that will be solved come Supreme Darkness. That's something I'll get into in a second. Another engine that I want to talk about first is one that is running rampant in Yu-Gi-Oh! Right now, but I have to say it, the Fiendsmith engine would be very nice in here as well. The only issue with that is that, just as well as the Azamina engine, it's kind of a very neat and tight engine. You can just theoretically play 4 cards, like the Lacrima, 1 Engraver, 1 Lyria, and 1 Tract, and you have enough main deck cards to, for example, go into the Caesar or Desiree, even though I would probably prefer just setting up a Caesar with this deck. But the only issue, of course, is extra deck is very tight. You will need Requiem, Necrocrypt, and Caesar, so that's 3 slots, which I think we could open up, just cutting the Rabbit, Amritara, and the Chenying. It's very much possible. You could easily do that, but I think there are even better ways. Because come Supreme Darkness, this deck will definitely change a lot, and I'm a little bit sad about it as well, because I think I'll have to cut the toy cards, because that's just a bunch of good cards coming out for this deck. The first new card in Supreme Darkness that I want to talk about is the LZ Azamina of the White Forest. It's basically just the Azamina-fied version of the LZ, and it's a very cracked card. You can see it, by the way, it's the modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Syndrome. Of course it has 3 effects, 1 in hand, 1 on field, and 1 if it's sent to the graveyard for a synchro summon. The first effect from hand is you can reveal it and then summon any White Forest monster from your hand to the field. Since it's an Azamina and White Forest monster, you can of course just summon herself, which is very good. On field, she has a fusion effect, which you probably never use. Of course, you could still use her effect to fuse into one of the Azamina cards, but the third effect, the one where you send her to the grave for a synchro summon, is the one that's very cracked, because she will search you a simple spells card. That will be either the Poster or the Deception, and that means you start with White Forest with either LZ or Sylvie as your normal summon, or LZ as your special summon to search Sylvie and summon her. Rapid Tails search her, and you have your simple spoils engine running. So you start with either of these 2 and go into rank 8 or level 8 rather synchro plus an Omni Negate. just off that, off one card. And you can probably single climb even further because you could go Arciela, search Rushia. After Sylvie already searched the Tails, and with Tails, you can get the Azamina LZ. So that's very correct. We'll also get a new Azamina boss monsters, the Saint Azamina, even though I'm not 100% sure if we'll run it because it's kind of niche with its effect. We'll also get a main deck monster, the Queen of the Azamina, which is also quite nice because it allows us to kind of lean into the single 12 place, which you could do with Crimson Dragon, Legatia, and the Cosmic Laser Dragon, which is a cracked Omni-Negate, obviously. Well, we could theoretically already do that by playing Marimat Dragon, Albion, and Dragoon. We'll get a new spell, the Simple Spells of the White Forest, which is a cracked quick play spell that I really look forward to. It has the same effect as the other White Forest spells and traps, where you send it to the graveyard for a monster effect for cost. It resets itself, and then you can use it as a quick effect fuse from field in hand, which allows us to summon out a Guardian Chimera on the opponent's turn, which I think is super fun to play with. Gets you additional draws and gets you a pop 1 to 2 cards, usually 2 I think though, which is very cool because you use a bunch of interruptions from your board, and then you just flip that spell and fuse away 2 of your monsters that you've already used, like the Silvera for example, and then you just summon out a Guardian Chimera, completely cook the opponent. So that is very nice in my opinion. We'll also get a new trap, the Azamina Unleashing, which is basically a bounce, which is also good, and it's also always treated as a White Forest card, so you can just search it with the Arciela, with the Sylvie, if you open up the other spell traps that you re-won. We'll also get a new link for it, the Albo Aku, the Lightless Shadow. Please don't give me any feedback on the pronunciation. I know this one probably got completely butchered. Maybe the name will even still change. I don't know if it's already revealed for the TCG with the rarity, even though I think it already is, because I think they confirmed it as a potential QCR, so it's either ultra rare or secret rare. And that one will be especially good if you put in some Fiendsmith cards into this deck, and that would be really, as I just said, Lacrima, Engraver, Track, Lurie. That's already enough. You could just play those 4, and that's what I mean, that this deck will just change a bunch. You get a ton of different ways of playing this deck, with a bunch of very good cards that get introduced with Supreme Darkness. There will be a ton of different variants where you can play this, where you can lean heavy into the Azamina White Forest archetype. You can play the Fiendsmiths with it, and I think this deck will be a top meta contender. I'm afraid it might be a little bit overlooked because of the Blue Eyes Primite hype, which is a deck that of course I'm preparing for as well. Of course I picked up the Primite cards already. Of course I pre-ordered the Blue Eyes Starter deck, but I think this one will be the coolest deck in the next few months. I'm really looking forward to Supreme Darkness simply because of these cards. So yeah, that's it for the video. I'm very much looking forward to the deck and how it evolves. And yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.